Hi, we're here in Denver at the Summit Music Hall with Olavi, guitarist from Amon Amarth. This is the fourth gig on that tour, and they're pretty much doing really good. How has it been going so far?
Very good. It's been more or less sold out so far, and tonight looks to be great as well. So all good. But we kind of we came from another tour in UK straight into this one, so we got a flu. So we've been kind of sick, everybody in the band, the first couple of days, but we're getting better.
Quick gear question. Do you bring your gear from Sweden or do you rent it over here?
We bring a few guitars and that, but the gear we have sponsored from PV and Pearl and stuff like that, so we get it from here.
Now you guys did Bloodshed over Bochum in 2008, where you did in 4 days your first 4 albums. Is that where the idea came from, to tour just you alone without support bands?
Yeah, of course. I think if we had not done the Bochum shows, then we probably would not have been doing this tour now. So yeah, of course, it comes from that.
And you guys also put that as a bonus DVD on Surtur Rising, right?
Yeah.
New album. Jens again was the producer, but as I understand, he was involved much earlier on in the process,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, definitely. He came in already, when we had the first songs ready. So whenever we had 3 songs ready, he came to rehearsal place and, we played it through, we made some rearrangements, stuff like that, and then we put those songs aside. We started to write new 3 songs, and then when those were ready, he came to rehearsal place. So yeah, he was already big, from.
And was that the first time he did that?
Yes. In the past, he only I think for Twilight we sent him demos, a couple of weeks before the recording, but this time around he was, already when we started to write the album.
You guys also recorded Fredrik's drums in a different studio, and while he was recording the drums, the whole band was present. Was that something new, or did you guys do that before?
In the very beginning, I only laid, guitars while Fredrik was recording the drums. And then I think on Odin on the side, we started to do both guitarists. We got the melodies as well, to make it more funnier for Fredrik to record it. And this time around, we decided to take another step. But Johan was not there.
Okay.
So we were only the rhythm section and guitarist. So and the reason for that was that we can, easily change stuff if we felt like something, didn't work out. And it's easier to hear when everybody's playing, because if you only hear drums, you don't really know. So we made a lot of changes, that we didn't really expect to make. So I think that was a really good thing. And also it's better for Fredrik to play drums when he hear, the songs.
How hard is it to come up with new riffs, new solos, since you guys been around for a while?
It's definitely difficult to not repeat yourself and to make stuff that is not, sounding sounding too close to what you have already done. It's very difficult, but we work hard and we throw away a lot of ideas and a lot of stuff that we think sounds too similar to stuff we have already done. So it is tough, but that's the fun part of it. It can't be easy all the time.
Do you guys have skeletons of songs and then try to put them together, or it's just...
Yes and no. I mean, we don't really work with material that we don't think is strong enough. If we have something and we feel that's not really strong enough, then we just throw it away.
Do you and Johan write together, or is that...
He writes at his home and I write at my home, but sometimes he sends me stuff, I send him stuff, and sometimes we just put it we try each other's stuff to put it together. And also, but whenever we have ideas, if it's me or Johan, we bring it to the rehearsal place, and then we like strip it down and we build it up together as a band, and everybody's involved.
First time on this album, you guys use strings and also acoustic guitars. Is that something that we can expect more from Amon Amarth?
I don't know. I mean, I'm always been skeptical towards that kind of stuff. In my world, you know, acoustic guitar, keyboards, and female vocals doesn't belong in Amon Amarth. Right. But you know, this is a producer step. You know, we didn't when we wrote the songs, we didn't have acoustic guitar or you know that kind of stuff. And it's the producer that likes to create, you know, dynamics in the songs. And I wasn't very into it when we recorded it, but now afterwards I think it's brilliant. I really like it, and I like the contrast, and I like the dynamics myself too. But I don't know. I mean, I'm an old school guy, and I like, you know, one effect pedal and that's it. You know, one distortion, put it in your. I don't like to have, you know, I like it easy.
Well, speaking of old school guy, I would say that this album, for me personally, is one of your better ones. There is like. My favorite is Wrath of Norsemen and also The Last Stand of Frey, because they are so different. And you incorporate so much more melody and also heavy metal, rock riffs. So can we still say Amon Amarth is a death metal band? Well, how would you describe your music?
For me, it's just metal. Because, I mean, to me, death metal is like Christian.
Yeah.
That's for me death metal. And we're not even in the same league. I mean, musically, it's totally different thing. So and we are not really heavy metal because we have groveling vocals. So we are somewhere in between. And to me, it's just metal. And you know, whatever people want to call it.
Right. Now Johan writes all of the lyrics to the songs. Does he write the lyrics first and you come up with song titles, or vice versa?
It's a little both of. Sometimes he has ideas for lyrics before we even have music, and sometimes it's the opposite. Usually he used to sit in the rehearsal place while we are building the songs. He just sits there and come up with ideas and stuff like that.
And I read in an interview, Fred actually was saying that the lyrics are about Norse mythology, and it really is not taught in school. Well, I'm German, and all of the Hitler stuff and Third Reich is really not taught in depth in school neither. Do you think that is something like Norse mythology should be more in a curriculum in Sweden?
Yeah, I think that wouldn't really hurt, because it's like, you know, it's still the mythology of, you know, Scandinavian mythology, and I think, you know, kids today should, you know, at least learn a little bit about it. But I don't know. I mean, Sweden is like every other European country. They're Christian, and they rather learn Christianity than you know the old history. Yeah, but you know it is what it is.
Right. Tom Thiel, again, right? Again, yeah, did your artwork, and I mean. Again, I have to say, you know, that album cover is by far my favorite. Do you guys give him an idea and he runs with it?
Yeah, we decided quite early that we're gonna do a Surtur album, which means that the album cover is gonna be based on Surtur. So even before we had the song ready, we decided for that. And then whenever we had the lyrics ready, we send Tom Thiel the lyrics. We send him a little story about Surtur, and then you know he just made some drawings and sketches, and and we took it from there. But he already he's very easy to work with, and he knows what we want, and when we decided that we were going to have Surtur, we already could picture that the album cover will be amazing.
Do you prefer to play in Europe or in the US? Because the US has very restriction with their pyros, and I know in Europe you have pyros. So what is your preference?
Well, I mean, sure, it would be fun to have pyros in US as well, but I don't really, it is what it is, and we try to make the best out of, these are the venues we play in US, and we try to, make the best out of that, and we don't really reflect too much about it. But I like to tour in US, perhaps more than actually touring Europe, because I mean, here is the same currency, it's just everybody speaks the same language. So and also like everything is more or less 24/7. I think US is a very easy country to tour. I mean, if you're touring, for example, in Germany, and there's nothing after midnight, there's nothing to buy, and the gas stations, they don't even sell anymore booze or wine or whatever you want to have. So I think US is an easy country to tour. The only difference is that the venues are not as good as European venues, because European venues they're actually made to, like, the bands should feel, the venues want the bands to feel welcome, and US is just another band.
Is that the reason why you started your touring cycle with Surtur Rising in the US instead of Europe, other than those couple days in the UK?
Not at all, not at all. It's just that we now, when we're releasing the album, we want to be in the key markets all around the world. We've been already done UK, now we're doing this, and now we're going back to, mainland Europe, because we wanted to do it within 2 months, and because we want to stay out of we don't want to do anything during the summer.
What is in your drinking horns?
We don't have any drinking horns anymore.
What?
Because the drinking horns got customs in Brazil took them.
Everybody has been together ever since the second album. What advice would you give a new band these days, for your success, or stay together, or what's your secret?
Well, first of all, you have to everybody in the band has to have similar goal and similar, you want to, work hard, and, I would
Get
say,
along with it.
yeah, of course. But I would say, we don't really, first of all, we share all the money equally. It doesn't matter who writes what kind of music, who writes the songs or whatever. Everything we have a same page scale, so we don't have to fight about money, and everybody has steady girlfriends home since many years, so we don't have to fuck around with each other girlfriends, so we don't really have anything to fight about, to be honest.
Right.
If we fight together against everybody else.
There you go. Quick question about that 70,000 tons of metal cruise. And I mean, I gotta say, I heard an interview that I think it was Loud TV you did, and your comment, what you liked the best was the best I heard, the toilets. Yeah. I mean, that was like, oh my God, you gotta be kidding me. Was that something that you enjoy and would recommend other bands to do?
Of course.
Not the toilet, the cruise.
Yeah, of course. I thought it was fun. I mean, especially guy in my age, I don't want to have a, shitty outdoor festival shit house. I want to have a clean toilet, a nice bed, good shower, No, but seriously, I thought it was fantastic, and great weather, and poolside, drinking beer, listening to music all day long, and and it was like so fan friendly. It's like there's no backstage areas at all, so you could you had food with your fans, and sometimes you also had the food with your idols like Saxon or whatever. So I thought it was awesome. It was, and I think if we get the opportunity to do it again, I'm pretty sure we will do it.
What are your touring plans after this tour?
Like I said, we're gonna continue in Europe until June, and then we're gonna have 2 months off, except for the only festival we're gonna do in Europe this summer is the Tosca Festival, and then in August we're gonna hit back US and Canada. Nice. We're gonna do the cities we're not doing on this one, and in fall we're gonna do more than 2 months Europe, so we're kind of busy. Now,
next year marks the 20th anniversary of Amon Amarth. can we expect something great?
Of course. We're gonna put out something very special.
Are you recording some of those shows and maybe put it? Because you guys haven't had a DVD in what 2006, I want to say.
Yeah, something like that. I don't remember. Yeah.
But no plans so far.
Nah, not really. But if we're gonna do something, might have something to do with the 20 years anniversary.
Nice. Any last words to your fans?
Horns up.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Denver! Thank you, Colorado!